few people first off. Fred LeBlanc, 13th District Vice President, International Association Firefighters. OPFFA President, Carmen Santoro. 5th District Vice President, Warren Scott. We are here today because we as firefighters know the reduction in the Windsor Fire Service will do to our citizens, our community, and to our firefighters. We need to stand strong and understand the magnitude of this issue. Our goal is to preserve public safety and get the message out to the citizens of Windsor that the cuts to the Windsor Fire and Rescue Service will reduce the level of service provided by Windsor firefighters. Our city has chosen to close a fire hall, remove a vehicle from service, and remove another 3 firefighters from its daily complement, all on January 1st, 2015. In 2008, Truck 3 was removed from service, and 4 firefighters were lost from our daily complement, which went from 57 firefighters to 53. Now, on January 1st, we will go from 53 firefighters to 50 firefighters daily. This is a cut in service, no matter which way the story gets told. The number of firefighters required on a daily basis is being reduced. This will ultimately increase the amount of time it takes the correct number of firefighters to get to a scene as soon as possible to perform the tasks necessary. The city has decided to cut a public safety educator officer and a fire prevention officer as well. We are trying to preserve the level of service we have to better protect our citizens in Windsor at all times. In the last 5 years, Windsor is amongst the top in residential fire-related injuries, the rate of residential structure fires with losses, rate of firefighter injuries at emergency scenes, percentage of all residential fire-related fatalities in dwellings with working smoke alarms, and number of rescues. Now is not the time to cut the service from these divisions. Now is the time to make these divisions stronger and get our message out more than ever, that public education is the path to safety. In 2006, Windsor Fire and Rescue Services tabled a fire master plan that was supposed to make residents safer and firefighters more skilled and more capable of handling major fires, such as the one last week at Wick's bumper plant in the 9100 block of Tecumseh on June 25th, the plastic recycling fire on Sprucewood Avenue on Tuesday, May 21st, 2013, and the East Park Center Plaza on Tecumseh Road East on April 9th, 2012. In 2006, the department was currently covering 90% of the addresses in Windsor within 4 minutes of dispatch time. The goal was to increase the number of homes it can reach within 4 minutes to 94.6%. Today, the percentage now with the new plan is 47.7%. So, the WPFFA Local 455, along with the IFF and the OPFFA, have come up with a solution for 7 cents a day per residential household. At the cost of approximately $2 per month, the citizens of Windsor can keep the same level of service which we currently have. Our plan will decrease response times and increase public safety and provide more safety for your family. Our plan will give the citizens of Windsor a peace of mind that when you call 911, you will get fast, skilled response, whether it's a fire in your home or a medical emergency like a heart attack. A plan that will not move our city or our department backwards in a time when we need to move forward and protect the citizens of Windsor and provide the level of service that we all deserve. Let's stop putting finances in front of families and stop gambling with public safety. We will be launching our website very shortly after this campaign is done today, the media release. And for more information, you go to secondscountwindsor.ca, and all the information will be there along with a petition to sign to get this started. So, ending with my statement, we're going to introduce Mr. Pat Burke. For some of you who don't know who Mr. Pat Burke is, used to be Deputy Fire Chief Windsor, Chief of Niagara Falls, and the OFM Fire Marshal in Ontario. Saying that, Mr. Pat Burke. Thanks.
Thanks, Angelo. Good morning, everyone. Actually, I spent 34 years in the fire service in Windsor, about 4, just shy of 5 in Niagara Falls and 4 with the Fire Marshal's office. So my combined service is about 43 years, just shy of 43 years. Before I start, because I'm going to talk a little bit about the contents of our homes nowadays and the closing window for rescue operations and for firefighting operations. But those chairs that you're sitting on, every one of you, if you take a look at those chairs, they're made of a petroleum-based foam. And all of our homes and all of our workplaces nowadays are filled with petroleum-based products that are burning 3 to 5 times faster and hotter than what the ordinary regular wooden construction and natural fabric furnishings of years ago burned at. So it's important, and time is more and more important because of the contents we have in our home and because of some of the construction. Now I'm here this morning to urge that Windsor City Council put on hold any plans to reduce the number of fire stations and the number of vehicles and firefighters available for fire response, and a hold on the reduction in fire prevention and public education in any way, shape, or form. Windsor's not a suburban community made up of single-family detached dwellings. It's a complex urban center, and from a fire service perspective, increased complexity requires increased capacity. I'm suggesting that a risk analysis, comprehensive risk analysis, be undertaken before anything at all is done in terms of the level of service for the City of Windsor. That risk analysis should be based upon the type of equipment and the number of staff required to safely perform the simultaneous tasks that are necessary for effective fire suppression and rescue activities where a fire has occurred in any and all of the building and occupancy types in the City of Windsor. Virtually every area in Windsor has a mix of residential, commercial, and industrial properties. Any review should include an analysis of the best station placement and apparatus and staff deployment to address the risk types in each area of the city in order that an informed decision can be made about the levels of service. Now, the requirements for high-rise buildings and high-hazard occupancies and buildings housing vulnerable occupants are more complex and require more staff than do the requirements for a single-family detached dwelling with no exposure and no basement, which is the NFPA baseline. I'm just going to read for a moment from a booklet called CFAI Standards of Cover. CAFI is the Commission on Fire Accreditation International, and it is part of the Center for Public Safety Excellence. The words are from the Board of Directors, the Introduction to the Standards of Cover, which is a joint venture of the International City Managers Association and the International Association of Fire Chiefs. And I quote, "What emergency response companies must do if they are to save lives and limit property damage is arrive within a short period of time with sufficient resources to do the job. A high-risk occupancy requires timely arrival of fire companies for several reasons. More resources are required to rescue people trapped in a high-risk building with a high occupant load than in a low-risk building with a low occupancy load. More resources are required to control fires in large, heavily loaded structures than are needed in small buildings with limited contents. Today, I am told, Windsor is sending the same number of vehicles and firefighters to a high-rise building or a high-risk occupancy in the core as it does to a bungalow in South Windsor or any other neighborhood in Windsor. Only once there is a confirmed fire are further resources deployed. If you don't send the appropriate resources required to safely engage in operations on the initial response, you are in effect gambling that there will be no fire. If there is a fire, you lose, and those involved in the emergency lose. That's a bad gamble. I can find no standard nor organization that recommends send less than you need and then upgrade. Time is critical. As I said, fires are burning hotter and expanding faster, and intervention and rescue windows are closing quickly, all due to the nature of the contents of our buildings. The reason that seconds count is that fire grows exponentially. If there's a fire on a high floor in an apartment building, that extra delay, along with the vertical response time, may make all the difference in the nature of the outcome of the emergency event. Vertical response time puts high-rise residents at a distinct disadvantage where the time to the front door is the same as for a single home. That disadvantage is compounded when sufficient resources have not been deployed on the initial response. At one time, Windsor deployed resources on an initial response based upon the risk and operated on an automatic support upgrade system once the first confirmation of fire was communicated. The first response, including automatic upgrade for signs of a working fire, ranged from 19 firefighters and support resources for a detached single-family residence to 42 firefighters and support resources for large industrial occupancies in the casino. Those resources could be upgraded further at the option of the on-scene incident commander. I've been concerned about appropriate risk-based response for my entire career. I advocated for the implementation of risk-based response. In Windsor, I was part of the team that introduced it in 1997. In Niagara Falls, I made a recommendation to council that resulted in a 30% increase in fire suppression staff to move towards risk-based response. As the fire marshal for the province of Ontario, I worked on the development of a risk-based deployment workbook identifying the critical tasks necessary for safe operations for different risk types. That has been incorporated into a new integrated risk management web tool by the OFM. A comprehensive risk analysis for the City of Windsor will allow Council to make an informed decision about both the current and proposed ability of Windsor's fire services to effectively protect the citizens, visitors, and property every hour of every day. Indeed, it may suggest a completely different direction. A comprehensive risk analysis will enable a council to make an informed public safety-based decision rather than what I perceive to be as a reactionary decision in response to an award by an arbitrator. Today, Windsor doesn't meet NFPA 1710, the guidelines for adequate resources and adequate response times. In fact, those guidelines address the staffing required for the critical tasks at a 2,000 square foot, single family, detached dwelling with no basement and no exposures. There are few of those in Windsor. Most single family residences throughout all the city neighborhoods have both basements and exposures. This is particularly true in the older parts of the city and in newer developments with smaller lot frontages. NFPA 1710 would require additional resources to be deployed to address the additional critical tasks required. NFPA 1710 requires the full initial response based upon the risk requirements within 8 minutes of dispatch. From the time I left Windsor for Niagara Falls in 2002 until the time I returned after retirement in 2010, the city has grown in both area and population. One vehicle with 4 firefighters was added, 1 additional station was added, and then 1 truck and 4 firefighters per day were taken out of service. Now we're looking at a station being closed, some firefighters being redeployed, and reducing the daily complement available for response by another 3 to a total of 7. During this period of time, the risk-based response was eliminated or drastically altered. And to my knowledge, none of this was based upon a comprehensive risk and deployment analysis. I'm not here to say one perspective, is absolutely right or another is absolutely wrong. But I am here to say that a proper, independent, comprehensive risk analysis is necessary before any decisions to invest or to cut are made. I would urge council, and I would urge all of you to urge council, to delay any decisions until after such an analysis is undertaken and completed and a clear and full picture of the levels of service that exist, that are required by risk, and that are recommended is available. The people of Windsor deserve to know what the needs and circumstances are related to the fire service levels in their community. Thank you.
In closing, thank you, Mr. Pat Burke. Appreciate it. In closing, I'd like to thank Unifor, CUPE, Citizens Coalition Group, once again, Mr. Fred LeBlanc, Carmen Santoro, Warren Scott. We're going to close the media release up, questions and answers following, and these gentlemen will help with the questions as well, so feel free. Thank you for attending, and thank you firefighters and citizens for showing up. Thank you.
It's really hard to urge council to do